Hello. Welcome to the show, everybody. It's so good to be here. Hey, Lynda, how you doing?
Hey, I'm okay. How are you?
I'm good. I'm sorry for the cough. I'm still coughing from my little COVID episode here. So I apologize if once in a while it comes up. I just wanted to apologize to everybody so that you don't think I'm like sick or something like that. But
Oh,
how was we weren't here last week. I think it's been, but it's good to be back again this week. And I believe that Trevor and Pete will be with us next week as well. We're
good.
missing those two gentlemen this week, so that's okay. That's okay. It's always fun to do a show with you two.
Aw. Well, it's great to do a show with you always, but I know it's kind of weird when, the sidekicks aren't around.
Right? I like the way you said that. The sidekicks. That's beautiful. They're going to be, both of them are going to be like,
What?
what did you call us? I'm waiting for the message to come through. It'll be funny.
Me too. It'll come.
Yeah. How was your week, Lynda?
It was a busy week. I mean, it's really busy lately between work and the other stuff that I do. Plus, I've got all kinds of other things on the go all the time. It's been a really busy week. And of course, I'm still waiting for my surgery on the other eye. So at least I can see you with my good eye.
Well, I'm glad that you can see me. That
Yeah,
always makes me very happy. or not, I'm not sure. It depends.
crazy.
Having a good day today, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
But yeah, that it's have you been doing any investigating?
Not really. Answering a lot of emails and stuff. I think Paranormal Survivor might be in reruns somewhere because I'm getting way more. I'm getting way more hits than usual, so it must be in reruns. But
That is
um,
so cool.
you see,
Um, how long were you on Paranormal Survivor, by the way? It was a few seasons, wasn't it?
a few seasons. Yeah, a few seasons. So
Yeah.
it's always in reruns somewhere, which is kind of cool. And I always get such positive feedback. People, are so nice. So, but people do have a lot of paranormal problems out there, Kathy. So
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's good that we're there for them, right? So
exactly, yeah.
we're going to bring on our guest. So, our guest tonight is June Nixon. She is the Vice President and Client Coordinator of the Advanced Ghost Hunters of Seattle, Tacoma, otherwise known as A.G.H.O.S.T, which I just love. I love that acronym. That's beautiful. We're going to bring her on and have a chat with her. And I've been really looking forward to this. I love talking to investigators, and this is going to be lots of fun. So we're going to bring on June. And guys, there might be a little bit of a delay. We're not sure, but please be patient with us if there is. So hang on a second. Hey, June, how's it going?
Hi, everyone. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Oh, we're so happy to have you. I think that there is a little bit of a delay from you talking to when we hear it. So
Okay.
we'll just have to be aware of that. But okay.
Okay.
We want to ask you, tell us about your team. Tell us about like how long you guys been together and stuff like that.
Well, it was actually founded in 2000. So we are one of the oldest continuous working groups, I guess you'd say, in the Pacific Northwest. So we've been, like I said, Ross Allison is the one that founded the team back in 2000. He kind of founded it because one of his friends, he wanted to go do some paranormal investigating, and one of his friends was like, why don't you start your own team, since nobody else really wants to do it, or if they did want to do it, they would his friends were just like, let's go get some beers first and then we'll go out. It's just like no one wanted to really take it seriously. So basically he started a ghost up back in 2000, and he's been going strong since. I actually joined A.G.H.O.S.T back in 2012. Before that, I was it was about 2005 when I really, it was actually after my divorce, and I was like watching one of the ghost shows, and I thought, I would really like to do that because I've always had a fascination with the paranormal.
Right.
So I thought, that would be really interesting. But I wanted to get into it to prove it was all a bunch of crap, basically. That was my whole objective because I was like, oh, this is ridiculous. There's no such thing as ghosts. I'm going to, do this, and I'm going to learn how to debunk everything and prove all these people are just making everything up. So I start taking all these classes, everything else. I really, get into it. I find a group, everything, which was King County Paranormal was my very first group. And so I got into it trying to prove, like I said, everything was all made up. And let's just say,
I think there's a bit of a delay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's coming from her end. Might be a mess up with the Wi-Fi or something because she's kind of frozen right now. So,
sorry.
What's that?
Can you guys see me now?
Did you?
I was like, can you see me
we
now?
can kind of hear you. It's going a little bit in and out though. Unfortunately, there you're moving now, but you were kind of stuck frozen for a little bit.
Oh, great. Might be I wonder. It's probably so cold here. Everything is freezing. But anyway, I got into it from and started taking classes. And then, when you get your very first EVP and there's no explanation for it, that's when you have to kind of step back and say, wow, what's going on? Yeah. And now let's just say I have a lot more unanswered questions than I have answered questions. I'm still a little bit of a skeptic when it comes to a lot of things, but and people do get a little mad at me because sometimes, they'll, show me a picture of, something, and I'm like, oh, I think that's your face in the mirror in the background. That's really not a, ghost. They're like, you don't know, June, you just have a closed mind. But it's like,
it's that's how we got the name of our show, right?
I try. Yeah, exactly. But if somebody comes up to me and says, "Oh, this is a picture of this orb that's on my, that was at my grandma's funeral. I think it's her, saying goodbye." I'm not going to go, "That's not grandma." Right. I'm going to say, "Oh, well, you never know. That's really, really nice." And I don't want to, be that person. but it's like, you never know. Even though it's probably a very dusty funeral home. Yeah.
Or a lot of people stomping around, whichever one, right? Like I mean, that's literally how we got our name, is just simply because of people giving us pictures and stuff like that. And after a while, it just became, okay, it's not an orb, it's dust. Like, we're just leaving it at that, for the most part. Yeah. Did how many team members do you guys actually have right now? Oh, I think she's frozen again.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I think this signal is really bad for some reason tonight, but it's probably my computer.
Sometimes it works great, and then sometimes it freezes.
Anyway, that's kind of how I got.
Okay.
Should I strike a pose? What? I'm sorry.
Sorry, how many team members do you guys have?
Well, we have about 70 members in our group, but we have maybe about 25 really active members that usually volunteer. We have a lot of other people that do page. We have a private Facebook page, everything, and but yeah, it just depends. And then sometimes if some are really, really active, others are, have, this is all volunteer, and others have really busy times in their lives. And then it kind of mix and matches. So yeah. And I'm kind of the client coordinator of the group too. So I get to kind of screen a lot of people that do get in touch with us to investigate. And no, like I said, we don't charge for investigations or anything, like
Right.
most people. But yeah, that's basically it.
Are you skeptical of people that do charge? Because I know I am. I'm just saying it straight out. Like, do you like? I don't know if you run into groups that charge, but like there's a real strong skepticism with them that I found.
Well, I believe that when you charge for something, people want answers. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that's a big thing right there. People want answers. And, what are you going to do to give them those answers? I'm very skeptical of people like that. We we had a client one time that had us over, and she said that she paid $300 to this man that could get rid of her spirits.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
what
boy.
he did was he came over wearing like basically kind of witch doctor clothes with feathers and a bone in his nose,
Oh no.
everything else. And he's going around her house and drinking, not really drinking, but putting this red liquid in his mouth and spitting it all over her house. This was a ghost repellent.
What?
And it stained the walls, it stained her couch, it stained, the carpeting around there. And yeah, she paid him $300. So 3 months
Oh, boy.
later, guess who she contacted? And he did a really great job getting rid of the spirits. So now
Mm,
we don't get rid of spirits. I have to say that that's one thing we don't do. And I know I could say
right.
something controversial, but I really don't believe that if a spirit does not want to move on, I don't think people can really move them on. I think sometimes it's might be a talking to them, asking if they know that they're have passed on, and ask them why they haven't moved on. Is there a message you want to get to somebody? Is that why you're still hanging around? What's the reason you're still hanging around? Or do you know that you are scaring this family that you're in here? Do you realize that? Sometimes, if somebody gets scratched, if somebody, something happens like that, I think a lot of times they're just trying to communicate and they don't know how many, they don't know how strong they are, basically. I think that's a big thing right there. So, but yeah, I really don't think that a spirit can move on. I don't, I mean, if they want to go, or maybe if you tell them that the family's being scared and then they kind of back off a little bit, hopefully, I'm really hoping that this, but I think if a person's a jerk in life, they're going to probably be a jerk in death,
Yeah.
honestly. And
Absolutely.
that's where I think a lot of demons come into the picture too. That a lot of people think, oh, I have a demon. It's like, no, you probably have a jerk that's passed on and it's really trying to terrify you just for kicks. But
Yeah.
but yeah,
Ex-
But yeah, anyway, it's like this woman was telling about paying this person $300, and he did all this, and then of course she had to contact us, and we came in there and tried to find out what was going on. Basically, that's kind of our biggest deal. We wanted to see if we can get hopefully some proof that these people aren't crazy, is what she, a lot of people want us to do. Just, can you find something just to prove that I'm not crazy, or get to the bottom of what's going on? Like this woman that heard footsteps. Every night about 9 o'clock, she'd hear footsteps coming up her stairs up to her room. And she's convinced that something was in her house and everything. And all of a sudden, while she was upstairs, we stayed downstairs, and we heard her furnace radiator kick on. And it would go boom, boom, boom. And it felt like something was walking up the stairs, to where she was. Yeah. But of course, when we presented that to her, she was like, no, I know I have a ghost. I know I have a ghost. And it's like, no matter what we told her, it's like, well, we kind of have this is the same sound that you're hearing. She's like, no, I know it's the spirits from beyond. They're trying to get in touch with me. It's like, well, maybe if you have, your radiator fixed, maybe the spirits will move on, but didn't say that like that.
I just wanted to let our viewers know, I'm just, because Princess Planet, I just want to let you guys know this. So we're actually being streamed to 2 different YouTube channels. So if you see weird dialogue come up, it might be coming from another channel. So Princess Planet, I wasn't calling you a scammer. It was actually in regards to another conversation that I was having on another YouTube channel. So I see all the conversation, but you guys don't. So I just wanted to let you know, it's not you. It's not you. It's us. we just crossed communication. That's all. Because she's like, I hope I can watch, and I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Welcome. But it was just in regards to another conversation that where I'm carrying on 2 or 3 different conversations off of different platforms. So just wanted to let everybody know. And but yeah, did you like? We found, and I think Lynda, we've talked about it too. It's so much easier to convince, like, people, or what am I saying? It's like people, they don't want to believe that they're not haunted. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's hard to convince them that they're not haunted. They want to believe that they are, no matter what proof you throw at them sometimes.
Sometimes. It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're in trouble when you first walk into somebody's house for an investigation and they have Ghost Adventures blaring on the TV, and you're just like, oh no. Oh no.
It is
so. If we don't find anything, we're not going to be the right.
Yeah. Well, and it's hard too, because they like to think that not only are they haunted, but that they might be helping sometimes in some way. You'll walk in and you'll see a spirit board, or you'll see 8 tarot card decks, or you'll see 14,000 different types of divinatory things, and you think, okay, so you're helping. I understand, and you really want there to be a ghost. So you've actually helped one to come into your home and bother you then.
Right. And we're not saying that tarot or anything like that, brings in the spirits. Like, that has nothing to do with it. But a lot of people, they're trying to communicate with the spirit, and they don't have a damn idea as to what they're doing. And I'm saying that as a tarot reader. I'm just letting you know. but it doesn't promote the spirits coming through. What it does, though, is, if you don't know what you're doing, it can, it can like screw you up, because if you don't know what you're doing, you could be opening doors, or, sometimes they think that they're having a conversation with something, and and they're promoting it through their mindset rather than actually what's happening, right?
Because it's all about intention, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's what I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys have
It's
do you
all
guys use
intention.
psychics or anything on your team, or do you guys just, is it all equipment?
Well, we do actually, but you really have to kind of go through in order to be called the team psychic. It's not, we're not discouraging anything at all. If people feel like they have a gift, we have to make sure we write everything down. So that's one thing that if people who feel like they have this ability, we ask that nobody really says anything, just to write it down. Because all of a sudden, if somebody goes into a room and they're like, wow, I'm just getting this picture of this man that was, shot in the head or something. And I have this horrible headache when I go into this room. And then somebody else might come into the same room and they'll just write it down. I got the this horrible headache when I walked into this room and everything else. And so we try to encourage it, but just to give you more credibility, just make sure you write it down first. And it's not like I was at this one investigation and this woman was like, oh, I'm a psychic, everyone get out of my way. I accidentally said something out loud like, oh my gosh, my arm's getting cold. And she's like, oh, I didn't want to tell you, but there's something trying to manifest, by your right shoulder. And that's why your arm's getting cold. And it's like, really. Now, if she would have written that down first with the time, everything else, before I had said anything, I might be a little impressed. Like I saw something trying to manifest by June's shoulder. It's like,
Yeah. We used to get a lot of that too, because we used to test out different mediums for groups, or for invest, and some of the stuff.
but yes, no, we've had a couple of people.
Oh, I think we're frozen again.
Oh boy, technology, Kathy.
Gotta love it, hey? Gotta love it. Just wait, she'll be back in a second.
I love what she's saying, though. I love it. I love it.
That. Oh my gosh,
she's back.
You're back.
This thing.
Oh,
it's hard. It's so hard sometimes.
Yeah, it depends on the connections and stuff like that. I'm trying to get rid of that.
Oh, I know. It's crazy, right?
She'll be back.
Back. But I do love what she was saying, though, because it's true, right, Kathy? I mean, as a psychic medium, too.
Yeah.
How difficult it is. But what she's saying is totally right. You've got to be so careful. So careful. Don't blurt things out.
There she is. Can you hear her?
Oh, cross your fingers.
Sorry about that. Oh,
that's okay. Actually, somebody said, "Don't you love live?" We are used to glitches. Don't worry. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, okay. It's a pain. But yeah, what were you saying?
Now I've totally forgot. Oh yes, about we have a couple of people. We've had a couple of people in our group, and that's one thing when we go into a location. None of us are front loaded. We do not know anything about the location. We are basically told, it's like, okay, it's a residence in Tacoma, Washington, or it's a business in, Centralia, Washington, or something like that. And that's kind of basically everybody knows except for the lead investigator who knows most of everything, but especially not the people who claim to be psychic or sensitive. They go into it, and we have one person that she hasn't been too involved because she's having a lot of other things going on right now, but oh my gosh, she went into this one investigation one time with me, didn't tell her anything. And she told me, I mean, she told the owners exactly basically what they told me. And
Wow.
it was really cool. First these people were experiencing kind of well, they're sorry, I can't talk when I'm
Yeah.
they were experiencing the sound of a lot of people walking through their house. And they kept having this experience where they would come in thinking there was an intruder, and they called the police even a couple of times. And they kept hearing it, and they'd even, put up cameras. Nothing was, happening or anything. Didn't even show up on their cameras, but they're hearing footsteps. And it was just like, where are these people going? What are they doing? And it was just like they were on a pathway to somewhere. But it sounded like a whole group of people, and several different people heard this. And when Merlin, when she came in, all of a sudden that's the one thing she said: I feel like there's a lot of people walking through this place. And, it's like, this is kind of a pathway going someplace. And it was really interesting to hear all this. We got some kind of cool evidence at this place. One was a young girl. One of the ladies was talking about loving this woman's teddy bear collection, and all of a sudden you hear this young girl, and sound like a young teenage girl, say, I love them, just plain as everything. And it was really interesting. But yeah, she really knocked my socks off a few times. So yes, so we do use people who are sensitive or psychic, but they are not the star attraction, I guess you'd say.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it's pretty amazing when everything does, kind of go together. Now, I'm basically psychic as a rock, and not even a, good rock, just a piece of gravel, no, not even a crystal, but every once in a while, moments where you walk into a room and you feel this energy, and it's just like, oh, I think something happened in this room. And then sure enough, you find out that some murders took place there, or something happened, and you're like, oh yeah, that's still around. And I can't even feel it. I can't imagine someone who's sensitive walking into this room.
But, I found that a lot of investigators have sensitivities that they might not even have realized that they had, and it tends to come out throughout the years as well, and you become very in tune with the environment of what's going on. So we've had a lot of investigators that are like, oh, I'm not psychic at all, or I'm as psychic as, like you said, a rock. And then throughout the years, they're like getting spot on, with some stuff. And it's kind of fun to watch because, as a psychic medium, when I see those abilities coming out in others, it gets me all excited, right? And I'm just like, it's like, oh,
I bet so.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, there was one time when my friend Ross was, he had all these coins in his piggy bank, and he kind of had a contest for people and say, okay, guess how many coins are in this, in my bank. And so I guessed like $117 and, $117 and, something, $117, I think is what I guessed. And it was just really funny. And I thought it would be hilarious while he was counting it, and I threw in 3 more quarters, to help my chances. And it turned out to be like $117.75.
Wow. There you go.
So he's never let me, live that
Can't
down.
do it again.
So I'm just like, so now I'm trying to do it for the lottery.
I always tell people if I
Hasn't
could guess
worked.
the numbers, I would be rich. Like, I
Yes,
wish
exactly.
It's true, right?
Yeah, try to go into that trance. Come on, Cathryn. Go into the trance.
No kidding.
Get those numbers.
I tell you, I've tried. I've tried.
Just tell the universe it's really not for you.
Yeah.
You'll give it to friends.
Yeah.
Charity.
I'll donate it. I swear.
Donate it to charity.
Yeah.
After I pay my bills off. Yeah.
And buy my house.
Pay
and my
yeah,
car
I'm the charity. Yeah, exactly.
my GIC account,
Oh,
whatever. Yeah. Do you like what? Okay, so I got to ask you because we like hearing this. What was I guess the most, I don't know, the thing that blew you away? Like, did you have an experience that you just went, what the hell just happened?
Oh, yeah. I've had several of those, but one of the biggest ones was I don't know if you've heard of Port Gamble, Washington. It's a really cute little town in Washington, not too far from Kingston, Washington. But usually we take a ferry across the water to get to it. It's really a cute little town. It was one of my really first investigations that I had absolutely no explanation for. But it's an old Victorian house that's kind of been gutted on the inside. And when they have to, basically, they can't rent it out, or no one wants to buy it because it's going to take over $100,000 just to get it up to code. Oh. But this is a beautiful old mansion, absolutely beautiful. And so we were doing an investigation there, and I'm on the second floor. And one of the men says, I'm feeling like we shouldn't be in this hallway. I feel like something doesn't want us in this hallway. So everybody stay away from the hallway. So I was like, okay, sure, whatever. In my head, I'm like, yeah, whatever. But I didn't do that. So I'm in this other room, and I come out and I see a shadow standing there. This is 30 in the afternoon. It's still light out. And I see a shadow just standing there, and I hear him talking to somebody else in one of the rooms. And I was just thinking, well, he just told us to stay out of the way. What's he doing in the hallway? I was being a smart ass to myself. And I start to walk over to where the shadow is, when all of a sudden it basically came towards me and dashed away really quick. And I was just like, what? Oh. And I ask, so I go over there. I think I'm going to get.
Oh, darn it. I want to hear the story.
The best part.
Okay.
She'll be back. What's that? Oh, there you are. Okay, we want to hear the rest of the story.
I'm trying to keep you in suspense.
That's what it is.
I'm trying to keep you in suspense here, It's like, oh. So I go over to him, and he's in the other room. And I said, who was just in the hallway, standing in the hallway? And he was like, nobody was in the hallway, June. And I was like, no, somebody was standing in the hallway. And he's like, no, June, in the hallway. And I said, I just saw a shadow in the hallway. And I walked over and it just disappeared. He's like, that was just a shadow. And actually, he said that has happened quite a few times with other people. And so in my mind, I'm like, okay, I got to try to debunk this. So I bet it was a leaf in the shape of a person that landed in the window and cast that shadow. Of course, it's a stained glass. And so I go and get a leaf. I try to shape it like a person. I put up on the window. There's nothing at all. I think, what if it's a bird? What if it's a bird shaped like a person that landed on the window? And that's casting the shadow. And it's like, June, there's no way that could have casted that dark, black shadow. And it was very dark. And then the more I thought about it, it was 4:30 in the afternoon. The sun was starting to set. And, being in Washington, in the wintertime back then. And I realized that the shadow standing up and down, the shadow was not elongated like shadows were.
Right.
I was like, oh, wow, that actually standing straight up and down. And so it really, I was like, I know what I saw. And it was like, but what was really cool is when I was, coming to terms with this, one of the other ladies who was coming up the steps, all of a sudden she yelps and she says, I think I just saw a shadow, who hadn't even known what we were talking about. So that was kind of cool. She kind of corroborated her seeing a shadow too. So that was one of the big ones that I couldn't explain it away at all. I had gotten EVPs before everything else, but this was the first time I actually saw something with my own eyes. And, sometimes I think, well, what if it's the EVP? What if it was my mind, like making this happen when it was, but now, I know a lot better. But yeah, that was one of the big things that just really kind of blew my mind a little.
Wow.
But it's an awesome place. If you ever get a chance to go down to Port Gamble, Washington, it's not too far from Port Townsend either. So just to say,
That's cool. Pretty cool. That's really cool.
Nice. I love your story about trying to recreate it. That's fabulous.
Yeah. I was like, I know that's what it was. It had to have been. There's no other explanation.
Right. The skeptic in all of us.
Then when there is no other normal explanation, you have to think of it as a paranormal explanation. So,
yes.
But that's what a lot of teams that we, not personally have found, but like, because the guests that we bring on are all very experienced, you know what I mean? But we've run into, teams, in our real life, I guess, where they don't do those experiments, or they don't, test whatever it is. And they're just, claiming that a house is haunted, or they're claiming that, this is that. I mean, we used to have plumbers, electricians. We even had a couple of cops, that weren't officially part of the team, but people that, if there was a problem, we could ring them up and say, look, we think that there's an electrical problem. Can you verify this for us first? Or you're not telling them anything, but can you come and check this house, just quickly, because if there's something going on. And a lot of people don't take the time, like a lot of teams don't take the time, or individual investigators anyway. And so it's nice when you do hear those people that put the work and effort into it, rather than just, like holding up a picture and that dust. Yes, that is, got to be a demon, that piece of dust.
Yeah, exactly. It's evil dust. Evil dust.
It's a dust bunny from hell.
Very evil dust.
Killer dust rabbit.
Yeah, we went into this one house. The killer dust rabbit. We went into this one investigation one time, and the EMF was like off. I mean, I've never seen it this high before. And I mean, we just were like, oh, that's really, really strange. And we felt the one. It was like, oh wow, something's going on with these in this house. Um, I mean, I'm really glad we were there for an investigation because the house probably would have gone up in flames because there were some wiring
Yeah.
problems and some shorts and everything else. And so there was, yeah, it could have been really bad.
Yeah.
So it was kind of glad that we were there.
Yeah.
It's just, we didn't find any ghosts, but that was somebody probably would have been a ghost if if we,
We actually
hadn't
had that
like really
happen.
seen that.
We had that happen a few, like a few years into investigating. Same thing is, but the EMF, it can cause, the hallucinations, headaches, sick feeling. And every house, it was a rental. And every renter was feeling the same thing. And so many people were moving out of this house because they just said it was haunted.
Oh,
And we went in, the homeowner asked us to go in and said, look, I'm losing all of these renters because of this. And so we brought in an electrician, and same thing. It was ready, like one little wrong spark and the whole place would have gone down.
yeah.
But
Wow.
the EMF coming from this place, like you actually felt a little sick, even being in the home for just,
Yeah.
like half an hour, right? Like you could feel it. And so you're thinking, well, of course everybody's moving out, because who wants to live in a house where you're feeling, and then some were saying shadows, and it was crazy. But there was absolutely nothing haunted about this house once the electricity was fixed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've had a few places like that. It's one of the people we did we this basically when we were just doing our walkthrough for the investigation. And that's the time when I ask a lot of questions and we do kind of basic readings. And while I was asking questions, a couple of teammates went just to their bedroom, and they got that too. It's like the EMF was just crazy. And we came back and said, are you having anything done? Because the house was under construction. And they were like, yeah, we're kind of working on some of the wiring. And I said, is an electrician, doing the wiring, or are you doing it yourself? And they're like, well, we thought we could do it ourselves. And we said, that's where most of the activity was happening, is they were seeing, like you said, shadow people. They were hearing voices. They were uneasy feelings, bad headaches, the whole,
Yeah.
schlemiel. And it was like, you better get an electrician in here. This is not safe. And, this can make you really sick also.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, yeah, it's amazing how the activity all of a sudden got better, or went away when when the problem was fixed. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. When you investigate, do you go with do you have particular team members that you guys stick together, or is it, just like a variety as to who's available, I guess is the best way to say it? Or do you guys try to stay together and investigate, especially with such a large team, like 70 people, that's a lot, right? So
Right. Well, it's like for a house, usually we only have about 4 people go on an investigation if it's a small house. If it's like a prison or something like that, we'll have up to 8 people and everything, because we want to have the least contamination as possible. That's really important. I actually was in a group before A.G.H.O.S.T. The leader of our group, he was just such a sweetheart, but he couldn't say no to anybody. So there were some times that we would have like 40 people and it would turn into this party. And I was responsible for keeping everybody quiet and only having 4 investigators at a time to go into this certain location. And so actually that's how I met Ross for a ghost. And I had mentioned to Ross, I said, is there anything you can do and just talk to him that less is more? you know, please, is there anything you can do? And so, he had talked to Todd and everything and said, it would really be a good idea if, less contamination, everything else. But, so there were some times that there were so many people. And so then, of course, I had the job of telling people no after that. And I was just like, you have to tell people no, it's like, I know, because there were some times that he would tell, other people would find out we were going to this really amazing place, like the Stanwood Hotel and Saloon one time. Other people would find out we were going there and like, oh, I would love to go to that place. He's like, well, come on. And so then they would bring some of their team members too. And it was just like, oh my gosh. So yeah, sometimes it would turn into just a party, I mean, it was fun, but for an investigation, it was not a good thing, let's just say. But yeah, we usually, like, for a house it's kind of small, we'll stick with about 4 people, maybe sometimes 5, and have somebody just kind of watch the monitors. It just depends if we do sometimes if the house is small enough, we'll just, kind of do our own cameras set up everywhere and everything. But yeah, we kind of keep it. And, we don't like clicks. If we have a rule, we have some rules in our group that you have to come to at least one meeting a month. You have to turn in your notes from the last investigation. Let's see. Oh, I can't think right now. But anyway, you have to, you have to, kind of, be involved. And if you can't do that, then, I don't really choose you for an investigation. And we try to keep it to where it's, that somebody that hasn't had a chance before, it's like, sorry, you've been on the last 6 investigations, give, somebody else a chance that has not. And they've been coming to the meetings too. And, they, are newbies. And, sometimes if we do have 4 people for a house, we will, and one of our newbies wants to go, we have them shadow an investigator for a while. So that's kind of how we do it, so that and we'll know how they react to things. Because all of a sudden, if some activity does happen and they start to scream and, run out of the house, we know they're probably not going to be a good investigator, or they'll combat their fear for later. So.
Every time I hear that, I always think of that ghost hunting episode where I can't remember what his name was, but where he runs out of the prison. It's like, run, dude, run.
Brian Harnoir.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's that was a little irritating. It's like, really? It's like, I know that was for good TV entertainment, but really, if you're an investigator, it's like, I don't want to get off on the tangent about women investigating, but there was this one show, and I don't even want to talk, I don't even remember what it was, but it was these women. And of course, they were scantily clad and everything like this. And anytime there was any activity or anything would happen, they start screaming. And it was just like, oh my God. I can't remember what that was. It was something like these ghost groups were, like competing against each other or something like that. Or I don't remember what it was. But
oh no.
I was very irritated. I want to tell these people that there are more in ghost hunting groups than there are men, and all we see on TV is basically men, and then a lot of the women there are on there. Not so much anymore, I would say say there are a few that are acceptable, but they'll have the women on there that just, well, that I can bring up one really good example is on the show Fact or Faked. I don't know if you remember from a while ago, which I actually really enjoyed. I really liked that show. But they had this one episode where the women, all of a sudden, and it was cold outside, the women were swimming around in their bikinis and the men had their wetsuits on. Excuse me? Anyway, they were, having to, go investigate some kind of monster story or something. But I was just like, really? So the women are in their little bikinis with their little knife holster strapped on their leg, and the men are completely clad in wetsuits. Getting started on that.
Realism. It's realism, Jill. It's realism.
Yes. And I was like, I know it's cold there. I know it's cold. So,
God.
or you could even say that with some of these women that are on some of these shows, it's like, really, you have to go there and wearing some of the little low cut tops and like, oh, God. Yes.
Well, I have a question for you. I was wondering how. Oh, we've lost Kathy. Oh well, that's okay. She'll be
okay.
How equipment heavy are you? I mean, do you love equipment? And if you do, what kind of equipment do you like the most?
Well, we do use a lot of equipment. We have a lot of cameras and everything. We try to use cameras as much as possible. Of course, I'm always just happy with my audio recorder. I have my little HN1 recorder. Also really love my Sony, old Sony recorder, which has gotten some really good, good. We got Cathryn back from beyond.
My computer is saying that my battery is low, so I'm not sure why. I'm trying to figure it out.
Uh-oh.
So if I do disappear again, I apologize. I will be back. Just continue without me for a minute.
No. Talking equipment.
But yes, and I have my 1mm that does everything and has the REM pod on it and has the flashlight on it, or the red light, on it, and of course temperature and EMF and everything like that. I'd like. I have a bad reputation of
Uh-oh. We're losing you again. Oh, I think you're back.
Okay, I'm back from beyond. It's but yeah, we do use a lot of equipment in our group. We try to catch whatever we can catch, basically. And also too, one of I say one of the most important tools is ourselves too, to our senses and what we can hear, and we try to be very quiet and everything. So, but yeah, we use a lot of equipment, a lot of cameras, a lot of night vision, a lot of day vision, a lot of different visions. So
a lot to review.
Yes. Oh, that's like the worst part. There are some times that I would just want to stab my eyes out with forks, because you're just like, oh my God, I can't listen. I can't look at anything else. And it does. And I don't think a lot of people understand that. And that's like a lot of these fly-by-night groups. They get into this because they think it's fun, and well, it is, it's like especially when you're bitten by the bug.
Yes.
But when all of a sudden you're like, okay, well, it's not done yet. You need to go through all your footage. And they're like, oh my God, that's like, I put in, 6 cameras and 3 audio recorders for a 6-hour investigation. It's like, yeah, exactly.
Gotta look through it all.
Yeah. So I think that, a lot of people don't really realize how much work it is. And I know some people now will not bring an audio recorder because they know they don't have time to go through it. And it's just like, okay, I'll bring mine. But I really like to do audio more than I like to do video for some reason. I don't know if it's sound waves or what it is, but when you're just looking at a video of an empty room, it's to you after a while.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm an audio hound myself.
But it's really awesome though. Once you can listen to 10 hours straight audio and you're just about ready to be bored out of your head after how many hours, but you get that one little voice like of a little girl in a bar at 4 o'clock in the morning, and you're just like, oh my God. My favorite is though, you're listening through all of this footage, and you get that little voice of a girl in a bar saying, what you doing? And then all of a sudden, of course, you click off the recorder right after that. No. It's like, I wish I would have known.
I know, it's true. Or, if you're listening to your spirit box, right? Your spirit box recordings, and for like the last 2 hours, all you're hearing is the right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you catch that little really significant audio response. Same thing. You always turn it off just as it's getting good. Why? Why is that?
Yes, I get you. Well, honestly, in our group, we don't use the spirit box. And not saying that there's anything, because actually I've gotten some really interesting things, and with my name being said several times in a row,
Yes.
which is pretty amazing. But if we do use one, we just use the white noise. We don't use the radio stations because there have been times that we have gotten like full sentences. There was one time that all of a sudden we were hearing June, 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 and this was in February. This was not in the month of June, and all of a sudden they were like, "Well, June, say something," and I was like, "Do you know me?" And we heard, "Save us from the fire." And it just kind of said that. It was like, ooh. Well, it was kind of cool because it was right by this. It was in the Port Gamble Museum. And it was right by this furniture that had been in a Port Ludlow hotel fire. And so it was kind of cool, but I don't know what they thought I was going to do. It's like that was a long time ago, but it was really interesting, that it was just a full sentence right there. So, but we usually don't use, and I call the spirit box an instant ghost box because a lot of shows will bring it out when things are slow, and then all of a sudden they have an instant ghost that they can communicate with. And a lot of times, one of the reasons we don't use it is because, especially on the radio stations, things like that, because it's very suggestive at times. I think, you can pull something that you want out of there and make it, kind of, you can make it to the situation that you're at. But that's not saying that, sometimes they do try to communicate through this, but I honestly don't believe that they try to communicate with the radio stations. I believe they are communicating through the white noise with that, because like I said, I've had several times where we have heard a full sentence and it's been the same voice over all of the garbage that's on there, and that's kind of going around. So yeah, we and it also gives a lot of people headaches. Like you said, that
It's interesting because when I first started to do what I do, I used to bring a little transistor radio with me because I've been doing this for like 41 years. And
wow.
so, yeah, a little transistor radio, and I used to put it between stations to just get that white noise. And I have to say, I've gotten some pretty incredible things, in the late 70s, early 80s.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, yeah. It's like I remember walking around, this was kind of before I got really into ghost hunting. It was just for fun in college, walking around with our cassette tapes and going into a place we heard was haunted and trying to get EVPs, with our cassette tapes and everything. And then unfortunately I got kind of mixed up with a husband that was very religious, and being in a really religious church, and of course everything was a demon, and you don't mess with things like that. So I kind of had to back away from that, and that's kind of what happened, after I got divorced. And then all of a sudden I was watching the shows going, wow, I would love to get back in that, and thought, why can't I get back in that?
Right.
So like my thing, like this is something I really love. But just
I
to
get it.
just to prove it was all hogwash. But
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So it looks like Kathy is having a hard time. She sent me a message saying that, she's obviously having a difficult time with her computer.
no,
Isn't that much fun? I tell you, it must be the airwaves. There's something going on. I don't know what it is.
the colder weather, all of a sudden it's like everything's getting
It's crazy. It's crazy, but that's okay. You know what? I don't know how to actually shut down the show, but that's okay. I actually have another question for you though, before I attempt. um, I was reading that you're like a big horror movie fan.
Yes, I am.
Well, tell me, because I don't know. I like suspense, but I don't know about horror. I mean, what are your absolute favorite horror movies? Like, and why?
Well, of course, my absolute favorite, I love a good ghost story, of course, ghost movie. Like one of my favorite movies is with George C. Scott and The Changeling. I love
Oh,
that movie so much. I'm not much of a gore person. I don't really care for the gore, but I do have a little soft spot for, the original Friday the 13th. I don't know why, but I just always loved that movie for some reason. But I love the ghost movies, and I love Asian horror movies too, because they usually have some really good ghost stories. Another movie I love is The Awakening. I don't know if you've seen that. It's a really nice ghost story. Everything.
I haven't seen that one.
It's there's no gore. It gives you goosebumps several times. I like a movie that can give me goosebumps. There's a 1940s movie I really like called The Awakening. It's a good ghost story, and it's a little risque too about the subject matter for that time period. So yeah, it's really good. But yeah, I always love a good ghost story, and I also love the Hammer horror movies, Dracula, Christopher Lee's Dracula too, or
Oh yeah, those are great.
yeah,
Those
The
are
Brides
really-
of Dracula, and but that wasn't with Christopher Lee, but yeah, it's one of my favorite ones too.
Love it. Well, there was another one I wanted to ask you about when you were saying about horror movies. I remember watching The Ring and thinking, why hadn't I seen that before? Because everybody had talked about it, and I don't know. I just thought, I don't know what I thought. I thought, well, it's probably not very good, but it was really fun.
Yes, I really like that too. It was really kind of funny because one of my friends who doesn't like horror movies, she was like, "Do you think it's really scary?" I was like, "Oh, it's not scary at all." But I learned to tell people, don't ask me if you think it's scary because my level is up there, you know, and it's like their level is hocus pocus, and in my head, I'm thinking, oh, it's not that scary. And so we get to this one part, and she thinks it's about ready to end and everything else. And there's sunshine and rainbows and all this stuff. And then, of course,
Good stuff.
she was very mad at me.
Oh no. Well, that's not very good, is it?
Hello.
Hi, Pete.
Hey,
Sorry. I'm going to end the show now. I apologize, Lynda.
oh.
Okay. Well, lovely seeing you, June. And thanks, guys. And tune in for next week for another show.